Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 11 of the Celtic Minded podcast. I'm Frank and he's Tommy. We're going to start today, Frank, with maybe a wee bit of a melancholy start because later today, Friday, there is going to be a funeral service for one of the Celtic greats, one of our legends who sadly passed away since our last podcast, Bertie Auld, whom I think we've all got very, very fond memories of and who became known as Mr. Celtic. You are going along to the service at St Mary's later today. What's your abiding memories of Bertie?
Well, I always go back to the Lisbon Lions. For me, the Lisbon Lions were not just any wee team. For me, they were the best team that I've ever seen in any sport. To get the 13 or 14 people together and make them an unbelievable team, and Bertie Auld's part of this. And I asked all the Lisbon Lions, I say, who was the best player? And they all tell me, nobody, it was a team.
Right.
It was a team. And what a team that was. To all been born within 30-mile radius of Glasgow, to all become that unbelievable team who all fought for each other, and nobody fought for each other more than Bertie Auld. That was the greatest team, not just in football, in any sport I've ever seen. For me, the Lisbon Lions is the greatest team ever in this world.
And that story, Frank, about Bertie in the tunnel as they wait to go out on the 25th of May 1967, and they're looking at the Inter Milan team and thinking they're all big athletes, looking like film stars, and wee Bertie begins, hail, hail. And the rest is history, as they say. I mean, that summed up him as a man, wasn't it? And that there was no foe that was unbeatable, and he had the courage of a lion.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And they, you've got to remember that, they talk about guys playing 30 games. They played 65 games. I think it was 66 games was the European Cup final, and they were the fittest team in the world. At the end of that game, they were still going. Inter Milan were dead. They had nothing left, and they came to a warm country. The game was played in Lisbon, in a very warm country, and that doesn't suit Glasgow people at all, except the Lisbon Lions.
And Bertie himself, Frank, he wasn't just a phenomenal player, an absolute hard man on the park, but also plenty of flair. He was also quite a useful manager as well. I mean, you played in teams against teams that he was managing.
Yeah, I was playing for St Mirren. We were going for the league at that time, the first division, I have to say, and part of this we were going for the league. And Bertie Auld and Alec Ferguson were not the greatest of friends, I have to say. And I think everybody knows that. But in one of the games, one of my great moments of Bertie Auld and Alec Ferguson was the two of them squared up to each other, head to head.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the whole place stopped to watch what was going to happen. I thought there was going to be a fight.
Right.
And the two of them had such good discipline, they walked away from each other.
Right.
So I was really excited. I said, come on. I think everybody wanted a fight. So that was a great memory for me.
In terms of memories, Frank, I remember that will live with me till the end of my days, was last year, 7th of March 2020. I turned 56 years of age, and I was at the game at Parkhead against St Mirren, as a matter of fact, and we won 5-0 that day, and Lee Griffith scored a hat-trick, and it was the last game before the lockdown. After that game, the bloody lockdown came in, and I was invited to a table in the main stand in the hospitality suite. My wife was there, my wee daughter was there, and somebody started singing Happy Birthday and brought a wee cake with a candle in it, and it turned round and it was Bertie Auld. My pal had went and asked Bertie to bring a wee cake over to us. I'd met Bertie a few times at charity football games, and we'd got on quite well together with some bits of joking with each other. But to do that for me, I thought was fantastic, and I was really, really humbled by it. And it's so sad to think that was a year ago. Last year, he's bringing a cake out. Today, he's passed away. So it's very, very sad, and we just pass on our love and best wishes to Bertie's family and to the whole Celtic family. And I'm sure we'll have a fantastic tribute today, not only at St Mary's but at Parkhead as well. So rest in peace, Bertie. Frank, it was important to get that tribute out of the way before we discuss the many events that have happened since our last podcast.
Oh, unbelievable.
I mean, it's been incredible. I want to get into the games. But I also want to reflect on, we've had COP26 there in Glasgow, big environmental conference, and you say to yourself, how good an effect has it had that it's now taken root, so that the next cup final in Scotland is going to be all green. I mean, you know, a fantastic effect of COP26.
That's amazing.
19th of December, an all green cup final. And isn't it, again, another tribute to Bertie? A team that he played for and a team that he managed are going to be in the final in the months after his passing. Gerrard, who was very, very happy. We weren't asked silly questions. 10 days later, he's gone. Managers can have an effect in teams. Is it going to have a galvanising effect to the Rangers, or is it going to undermine their attempts to hold on to that bogus one title that they've won?
Well, I think they've got a good man in. As shown last night, I watched the Rangers game and I thought they played very well, and they won comfortably 2-0. So that game last week's not really had a big effect on Rangers. I think what Rangers have done well here is they've went out, got a manager in quick and sorted the problem.
Okay, yeah.
That's very, very important.
Okay, I'm going to give you that because I do think most Celtic fans would admit that the way they turned things round was a lot better than the way Celtic dealt with the loss of Brendan Rodgers.
Well, I don't want to go into that because that really, you know, to look. I know why Brendan went away, and he did every right to go away, and you know he wanted to oversee who was coming in and out, and that obviously wasn't allowed. And Brendan had to go because of that, you know. But Ange's come in and he's doing a good job. And defensively, for me, he's not doing a good job because we're losing too many goals.
Well, look, before we go to the details of that, I've got to take issue with you because you talked about Rangers playing well and winning 2-0 last night. I think you can only beat the team that's on the park. Okay, I'm going to give you that, right? But if any Rangers fans think that performance was something that should warm the cockles of their hearts, I think they've got to look at the level of opposition they were playing. That was a pub team. That was a disgraceful opposition at a European level. But fair play to them. If they think that makes them good, great. On the other hand, we were in Germany last night playing a team who, at some stages in the match, I think they looked outstanding. I think they looked absolutely brilliant. And when I think the average age of that team, Frank, 21. Average age of the Bayer Leverkusen team, 21.
Well, that's good management and good scouting. And I think Celtic have got to get a good scouting system, and that's extremely important for the club. And to keep that scouting system all the time. Liverpool done it, they kept the same one no matter what manager was there, and that's why they were European champions. Now, I think Celtic have got to get that as well.
Let's look at the game, Frank. I think personally, I don't know how you were, but I was just a roller coaster of emotions because I was angry at the loss of the first goal. I thought it was a very, very poor goal to lose, particularly as we had the warning in the corner just before it, where the big guy gets a header, it goes over the bar. So you know the run he's making, you know he's the danger man, you know he's the target man, It looked like Anthony Ralston had been appointed to mark him, but the clever run he made was run the outside of the bunch of players. Ralston tries to catch up with him, can he, because he's blocked off. The guy gets a free header. Very bad goal, I thought. But then, how well did we dig in? We lost that goal and you're worried, oh no, we're going to crumble. And far from crumbling, I thought we took the game by the scruff of the neck. We started to impose our style of play. I thought Beaton, I've never been a huge fan of Beaton, but I thought he did very well in the centre of midfield. The more we get Jota on the ball, the more we get Forrest on the ball, we were dangerous. And then we get a penalty, which, by the way, you've got to say to yourself, if that had happened at Parkhead or if it happened against us, I wonder if our keeper would have stayed in the park. He's wiped the guy out. I mean, what else is that other than wiping a player out with your two fists? I mean, I thought the booking was very, very lucky for Bayer Leverkusen. I thought the keeper should have been sent off. And then your man goes up and does the Panenka penalty. I don't know about you, but I thought it was going to hit the bar. I mean, it's great when it goes in, but see if it hadn't went in.
Listen, that it went in, it was a brilliant penalty, and this is what football needs, entertainment, and that was entertainment. I went like, what you doing? And then it goes in, and then I called him a genius.
I'll be honest, actually, Frank, I'm sorry to be a bit of a bah humbug at this time of the year, but I actually didn't think he had a good game, Juranovic. I thought he gave the ball away several times. He nearly cost us an actual goal when the boy hit the post, and then the other boy hit the woodwork as well. Juranovic giving it away, but 3 or 4 times he gave the ball away. He was over casual, and personally, I think it's to do with the root of the problems we've got now. First and foremost, if there was a glass here, I think we would be saying it's half full rather than half empty, because when you compare 4-0 at Parkhead against Bayer Leverkusen to 3-2 last night, you cannot but conclude that there's been progress. There's definitely been progress. Well, do you disagree?
I agree that I watched the game against St Johnstone. I know you're going to come on to that. And I thought Celtic were dreadful in the game. I was at the game, and I have to say to everybody, one of my favourite guys in the world, I was talking to him. Who was that? Rod Stewart.
Rod, big Rod fan.
And I said to him at the end, you're in my heart. But anyway, we're not going about that.
Okay.
That was a joke.
The first cup was the deepest.
That was a joke. We're not going about that. But I met him, and he's a lovely guy, and what a Celtic supporter he is. He's a multi-millionaire, and he makes sure he's at all the Celtic games. That's a true fan, you know, and he was there, and I had a nice wee talk to him. But what was the question you asked me again?
Well, you brought up the St Johnstone game, because what happened is you were so keen to get that story in that we went off the Bayer Leverkusen so that you could get that story. You were impatient, because I was going to talk about the St Johnstone game, where that story would have been brilliant.
Okay,
However,
these things happen.
However, listen, I understand it. If I'd met Rod Stewart and talked to him, I'd have been dead keen to get that story in as well. There's no doubt about that, right? Okay. However, what I'm saying is that from 4-0 at Parkhead to 8 minutes away from beaten Bayer Leverkusen in their own home park. By the way, it had been the first time in 16 games in Europe that Bayer Leverkusen had been beaten. That's how they're phenomenal at home.
That's why.
And we were so close, 8 minutes away from it.
That's unbelievable.
But doesn't it show you the lack of depth and quality in our squad, Frank? That the problem last night was our substitutions.
Yeah.
They added nothing to our team. In actual fact, they weakened our team.
Yeah.
And when you've got a squad where your subs actually weaken your team, that's a problem, because Abada come on and did absolutely nothing, gave the ball away several times, and was probably at fault for the final goal, because it was his man who drifts off in the box and then does the crossover for Diaby to pass to score. And McCarthy, come on, McCarthy, James, you need to get up to speed, mate. You're not up to speed with the games yet. And personally, I thought their equaliser, it's James's man that should have been picked up. That ball travelled 70 yards. It's not as if both Ralston and James, they've got to see that where that's going and react, because your man, lovely touchback for your man, but that's James's man that he's touched it back to.
Right, okay. What, you've asked me a question.
Sorry.
And you've just answered it.
Right.
Because everything you've said, I agree with. So I'll get no answer. Everything you said, I completely agree with. And at the time, I was wanting you to ask me that question today so I could answer the answer you gave. So thanks for that.
Well, I think the unanimity, it's a hard word to say.
You done no bad.
It's no bad. I should have practiced it. The clear feeling among Celtic fans was almost unanimous. Some people have been going over the top, I think, saying it was Angie's fault. He shouldn't have made those substitutions. I was looking at the time he made the substitutions, 72 minutes and 76 minutes. So when he makes the substitutions, we're winning. We're ahead. A couple of them were forced. Beaton was out. There is a question mark. Should he have brought on McCarthy or should he have brought on Sorrow? Should he even have brought on the boy Shaw, who's young, raw, but they're young and raw as well. You know, I thought in there what we needed was a bit of tenacity and a bit of energy. And unfortunately, James McCarthy just now, he's not quite at it, is he? So maybe that was the wrong sub.
He's a good player. I'm disappointed with him just now, but I think you're right in what you're saying. The backup isn't good enough just now. Now we should be bringing on guys that are fresh there and can defend. You should have brought on guys that can defend. That never happened. And you've got to look at, Bayern Leverkusen have scored 7 goals now against Celtic, and they went 2-1 down, and that just gave them a wee wake-up call, because I don't think they took Celtic that seriously last night until they were 2-1 down and they came back, I thought, comfortably. Although I thought, Celtic could win this would be amazing. It would be really amazing, as you said, 16 games unbeaten at home, and that would be brilliant. But I think players go in, we beat them 4-0, we'll not give 100%, and you can't help doing it. It's something inside that happens to you, and they probably gave 80%. But when they had the 8 minutes to get 2 goals, and I thought the Celtic's defence gave it to them, and I think you're right as well. I think the wrong substitutions were made, and that's the problem he's got, having a good squad of players.
Frank, it's so I'm going to contradict myself here, because I've just made the point there about, was it the wrong substitutions, right? And I've then said, because you can't just say things without offering an alternative. So I've looked at the bench and I've said, well, could he have brought on Sorrow? Could he have brought on the younger boy Shaw? And then I'm now going to contradict myself by saying, if he'd brought them on and we'd lost, I'd be sitting here saying, what did he bring on Sorrow for? What did he bring on Shaw for? And the point I'm making is, Ange was absolutely right after the game to say, we're not quite at the level yet. Yeah. And this is a team, by the way, Bayer Leverkusen were missing at least 5 starters in the lineup, at least 5. And yet, this is a team that got beat 5-1 with Bayern Munich a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. And so, when you look at all of that, and that's why I mentioned the Sparta Prague thing, because, we're playing, I know it's the same competition, but we're playing teams that are in a different league from that type of opposition. And I think what we have to take from it is, we've improved. That was not a 4-0 hiding. That was a very unlucky 8 minutes away, 4 minutes away from a draw, 8 minutes away from winning. It was very, very unlucky. But January is key, Frank, as far as I'm concerned.
He has to bring in players that can defend. There's 7 goals in a European tie over 2 legs we've lost. That's not good enough. Even when I was playing for Celtic, we didn't defend brilliantly either. But we would go and win a lot of games in Europe. And at 2-1, I was very excited. I said, they could win this game. And then the goals came and I went, Frank, you're very silly there thinking that.
Well, one statistic, Frank, which sums up the point that you're making, mate, I think in the whole of the Europa League, Celtic have lost more goals than any team. I mean, that
doesn't surprise me.
Surely that one statistic shows you that in January we have to go big and we have to buy a proper left back. a proper left back, because
definitely.
personally, Juranovic, there's no doubt in my mind that the guy is a class player, but we're not getting the class performances because he's playing out of position. He's not a left back. He's got to be playing right back. We need to get a proper left back that gives us that balance on the left wing, in my opinion. I know Ange brings his fullbacks into the middle of the park. I understand that. But there are also lots of occasions where they're on the outside, and Juranovic, with the best will in the world, can never go and hit the line because he's not got a good left foot. We need an out-and-out athletic left back that can play in that position. And then further up the field, Frank, personally, I think we need someone with pace and energy in the midfield, and we need to think about having another forward to bring on. I'm looking at that bench last night, right? And Kyogo ran his game. He absolutely brilliant, but he was tired. Who do you bring on? All you've got is Ayeti on the bench. Come on, I hate being personal about it, but he's not Celtic quality, he's not Celtic class. For as far as I'm concerned, Ayeti shouldn't be on the pool now. I think we should be looking to move Ayeti on. It'll be better for him, and it would certainly be better for the club. And the big Guacamakis is injured again. We need to bring in guys. I mean, I'm thinking of the big European games in the run to Seville. John Hartson used to get brought on some of the games. I mean, that was the difference, when you were bringing on guys who could have started, and guys that are enhancing the team when they come on. We're bringing on subs. Abada, McCarthy, wee Mikey Johnson. They're lightweight, and they're not adding to the team. So we're talking about the guy Miyada, the other Japanese guy. I don't know if you've seen him. YouTube, go on to 15 minutes of him. Looks outstanding, Frank. Looks real pace.
Yeah, but the thing, when people forget how big a club Celtic is one of the biggest clubs in the world. Now, you've got to remember that brings its own pressure. A lot of people, I know a few players that came to Celtic and couldn't handle the pressure that the fans put on them. The fans want the best, and there's definitely a pressure there. They can go to the lower teams and they're okay, these guys, but when they come to Celtic, there's a pressure there, and they've got to handle that. And I don't think a lot of the players are handling that. But I've got two problems really with Ange. I love him. I think he's a good manager, and whatever he's doing, I'm still trying to work out his formation and what he tries to do and all that, and I'm finding that quite difficult. And that's not like me. I could, if I'm watching a game, I know what's happening, everything that's happening, but I'm struggling to see the way he's trying to play. But I would always see when you've got two players up the park all the time. Now, if I was the manager of Celtic, I'd say, use to stretch that defence, so if they stretch it, they've got more room to come into. Any long balls played, they're getting it. All of a sudden, Celtic are on the attack. And defensively, I think we need a guy like Wally Miller, the Aberdeen sweeper, who sat at the back, organises defence and covered all them. He knew all their weaknesses and he covered all that. That's why Aberdeen won a European competition, because of Willie Miller. I think he was outstanding for Aberdeen, and that's the kind of player that Celtic have got to go and get. A sweeper who can organise the other players, and then Celtic will stop losing goals. Just now, we've got wee Kyogo, who's doing his best, but come on, he needs a bit of help up front.
Listen, it's very interesting. We're all big fans of Ange. I think he's got a massive fund of support there. I thought some of the criticisms I was reading online last night were over the top. This is all on Ange. It's Ange's fault. He should have made the substitutions. Well, I would say that the players were tiring. I thought that was Forrest's first start for ages. I thought he had a great game. I thought he did really well, but I thought he tired. I thought Jota was looking tired. I mean, who wouldn't be tired when you're having to mark Frimpong's runs? And you know, it was hard for him to take on Frimpong. The guy's got phenomenal pace, outstanding pace. And Kyogo ran his heart out. So I can understand why he thought, I'm going to freshen it up front. I'm going to give them some problems by putting on fresh legs. The problem is, he turned to his pool of players and he's got Ayeti, he's got Johnson, He's got bringing on McCarthy, who's not yet up to full fitness, and he's bringing on a young boy Abada, who personally, Frank, he's a development player. He's nowhere near the Celtic quality yet. I'm not saying he won't make it, but he came on last night, and the amount of times he gave the ball away, either misplaced passes or not trapping the ball. It didn't help us. It didn't put us under pressure because we were losing the ball.
But the biggest problem I've got is McCarthy. I spoke to him about 5 weeks ago, and he didn't have an ounce of fat on him. And I was like, that's a good buy. If he can sit in the centre of the midfield and not let anything by there. Neil Lennon done a great job doing that. I used to commentate in all the games Neil Lennon was playing, and I used to give him a bit of stick for not getting forward because he could score goals as well. But I thought he was going to be the player that come in and sit in the midfield and organise it. And I can't. It's not because he's unfit. He's definitely a very fit football player. I don't know why he's not doing it at Celtic yet. That's a mystery to me.
Well, I tell you, I'm going to say something here which I didn't think I would ever say, and that is that, see if Beaton hadn't got injured, I think we would have probably held on to at least a draw, if no a win last night. I thought Beaton was the absolute glue in that midfield. I thought he broke down their attacks very well. I thought he had a very, very good game, and I think his injury was critical in what actually happened in terms of the result.
But I also think their finishing was fantastic. You know, you've got to give them credit. They 2 goals were fantastic goals, you know.
Well, Frank, you know, we're going to finish on talking about this game before we move on and wind up the show. But you cannot mention last night without getting a shout out to Joe Hart. What a game.
What a game.
What a game.
Did he have a double save?
Double save.
Double save. I jumped up because I couldn't believe he saved it, and for me to jump up is amazing, and I can't believe that a goalkeeper can make me jump up. When he saved the first one, I was going to jump up, but then he got the second one. I jumped up. I said, "My God, that was."
Saves the first one with his foot.
But
then he's unlucky because it goes back into the stride of the play, and then he doesn't give up.
But can I just bring in this point? You know, it was 3-2. Celtic were unlucky. I would have taken 3-2 before the game. And look at all the things we've had to talk about. And it's amazing. I had about 5 things I wanted to talk about today. I've spoken about one of them, probably Kyogo playing up front himself. I do not like to see forwards playing. Now, if they play with 2 up front, it takes 3 players to mark the 2. And Celtic would have a better chance of holding the ball up. And Celtic have got an extra man for the rest of the park. What is wrong with that, having 2 forwards up front?
I don't know, but sometimes, Frank, I see, I asked you before what was your favourite formation. So what is your favourite formation?
4-3-3.
Right.
You've got 3 guys up front. Any ball goes
2.
long.
A minute ago you said 2 up front.
No. Well, you asked me. I told you what what I would like to see with Celtic just now, but we played with 4-3-3. Now the left back had to mark David Provan. Charlie Nicholas had to be marked. If he came short and got the ball and turned, the other team were in trouble. And with him doing that, I would go in behind. So they had to have 4 or 5 guys at the back marking us. Now we had 1 or 2 guys extra for the rest of the park. What an advantage! And I just don't get it. Oh, and the best form of defence is attack.
I just think, see 4-3-3, right? I just think you're going to get swamped in the middle.
Rubbish. You're going to, all the guys are marking the forwards. They've not got any time for the midfield players and the midfield. You know, I've seen it working. I've seen Paul McStay getting the ball going forward. You've got to remember the guys that I played with. Paul McStay, they could take on a player.
The maestro.
Once he takes on that player and goes by that player, one of the defenders are going to have to come to him. They come to him, and then it's 1 against 1 for the rest of the team. Now, football is simple, and what I'm saying is simple.
Well, I think we need quality signings in January.
Yes.
I don't think we're far off winning the title.
He's a good manager. I like him.
I think we've through a cup final. Well done, Ange through to a cup final. He's only been here a couple of months. He's turned it around, whole new squad. That if you look at the starting 11 on Sunday, last Sunday there, only 2 had ever played the Hampden.
My God.
Incredible.
But I'm worried because I thought Hibs played exceptionally well against Rangers.
They're inconsistent.
I know they're inconsistent. If Hibs turn up in the final and play like that, Celtic will be in trouble. So Celtic have got to improve.
I look at it the other way. If Celtic turn up and play their own game, Hibs will be in trouble.
No, there's no doubt about that. But what I'm saying, Hibs, this is no any way. I know the 2 teams are in. What happens to that day? What teams will want to wear the green? Do you know?
I think they toss up. I think they toss up to see who gets to wear their traditional colours.
Like a coin?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty positive that's what it is. But it's just, I mean, it's fantastic because obviously, the team across the city there, they simply can't handle semis.
Well, I don't want to go any further than that.
We've got Aberdeen on Sunday at home, and then we've got a list of fixtures. We've got Hearts at home, Dundee United away, Motherwell at home, Ross County away before the final. What do you think? Do you think those fixtures could be critical? Because if we get to the home game against the Rangers in the 2nd of January and we're still within 4, 3, 2 points, I think that could be a critical game.
I think Celtic have got to win all their league games. Whether or not they can do that, I don't know yet. I'm not completely confident that this Celtic team can do that just now because of their leaky defence.
Okay. Listen, thanks very much for tuning in, troops. I hope you've enjoyed the chat. I think we've got a consistent theme throughout the podcast. This is number 11. And every podcast, Frank has made the same point about our leaky defence and the need to tighten up at the back. And the truth is, mate, it pains me to say it, but you're right.
Facts don't lie.
Hail, hail, brothers and sisters. Speak to you the next time. Please tune in, please share, and let's keep the faith.